My name is Kulegani Kumalo from the Technology Transfer Office. Firstly, I would like to send a thank you to the Postgraduate Skills Office for organizing such a very great knowledge sharing session. Today with me, I have my director and colleague, Nolin Singh from the Technology Transfer Office. We will be sharing some great information with you. So I will begin with a presentation from my side, and then we will take it from there. Share my screen. Please do indicate if you can see my screen, maybe with a thumbs up.
We can see it, Kulakani. Perfect.
Okay, great. So today I'll be talking about Innovus, who we are and what we do. So what is Innovus? So Innovus is the innovation and commercialization unit of the university with the mission to make Stellenbosch University's innovation matter. We strive to maximize the university's impact on African society by using the output of the university's research to promote entrepreneurship, create new jobs and new products and services that addresses the needs of our society, because it is very much important to have research with societal impact. So our Innovation and Commercialization Division comprises of 4 offices: the Innovus Technology Transfer Office, which myself and Nolene are from, and I will be speaking about our key offerings further on my during my presentation. And then we have the Copyright, Trademarks and Short Courses Office. They deal with our copyright matters, our trademark matters, and they also coordinate, standardize, and support the short courses processes on behalf of the institution. And when we also have our Launch Lab, they're responsible for student entrepreneurship. They are basically our incubator. They're also responsible for new company creation and onboarding, portfolio company support, instant startup, and they also responsible for portfolio reporting and fund management at the University of Stellenbosch Enterprises. So the University of Stellenbosch Enterprises is a university wholly owned company that holds and manages the institution's shareholding in all SU group of companies. And my colleague Nolene will be speaking to you about this group of companies. We also have the Stellenbosch Network, which they are responsible for bringing people together. So they bring your industries, your government, society, and academia. If these need to be a discussion, they are the people who are responsible for bringing all the responsible parties together. And we also have Suncom. Suncom is responsible for residential services, catering and compliance, transport services, rental offices, and the botanic gardens. So these are our service offerings. So Innovus supports research and entrepreneurial development. We also manage IP, and we also manage and protect IP, technology transfer and licensing, and of course, spin-off company support. I will be speaking more about the Technology Transfer Office, where I am from. So we do intellectual property protection and management, IP advice through our attorneys and support, research commercialization, technology transfer and licensing, and in partnership with the Launch Lab, we work on creation of spin-out companies, entrepreneurial support and development, and of course, business incubation and support. This is the technology transfer office process. So you initially have an idea. So when you have that idea in your workspace, your lab, you then come to our office. We have an open door policy. You can come to our office at any time. You come to our office, we discuss this idea, this brilliant idea of yours. And then after that, we have to disclose the idea. We give you what we call an invention disclosure form, where you have to disclose what your invention or idea is all about. After we receive that invention disclosure form, we evaluate it. So this is the process to evaluate. We look at prior art search. When we speak about prior art search, we look at any information that relates to your idea that is publicly available. We look at marketability search. We do a technology landscape and competitor intelligence. After that, we then select an appropriate form of IP. So your idea might be protected via patents, copyrights, trademarks, designs, or know-how. You name it, we can assist you with. And then we investigate commercialization opportunities. That is inclusive of funding. If your project requires maybe seed funding, you need to still develop the project more, then we also assist you to apply for those. And then we also negotiate agreements, your non-disclosure agreement, which is very important, and I'll speak about it later on in the slides. Your licensing, we also help you negotiate license agreements and equity agreements. So there are two commercialization strategies that we employ at the University of Stellenbosch. So it's either licensing or we spin out. So when do we spin out and when do we employ or choose to go to via the license route? So we spin out if the technology offers a complete solution. It's disruptive, meaning it changes the paradigm, and it's in an industry where spin-off companies are established commercialization pathways, and it's scalable. The product itself is scalable. And entrepreneurial team has a champion, meaning there's someone in your research team that is willing to take on this initiative of starting the spin-up company. And when do we license? We license when the technology offers only part of a solution, meaning it improves on an existing process. And if it offers an alternative to an existing solution, or the technology is not usually commercialized by startups, and it's not scalable, meaning it's a single product. And importantly, there is no researcher that is interested in a spin-out company. Then we say, let's go for license. So in the work that we do, we are governed by our IP policy and our Intellectual Property Rights Act. So the university, the IP policy states that the university owns the IP created by staff, undergraduate, postgraduate, and regular visiting students and staff. However, the university pays for all the patents and shares any income generously with inventors and enablers while carrying the risk. And which IP, you might be asking yourself, is owned by the university? So IP that is created in the normal course and scope of your work as an employee or student of the university is owned by the university. So when research is funded by a third party, now let's look at those scenarios. If research is funded by a third party, then you might be asking yourself a question, who owns the IP? So if your research is publicly funded, or they've used public funds to fund your research, the IP created there will be owned by the university. If the private funds are used and not at full cost, meaning not all direct and indirect costs that are associated with your research were covered, then SU owns the IP. Now, if it's at full cost, then we may engage in negotiations to who owns what. Now, why does the IP belong to the university? Number one, because it's mandated by law. Our Intellectual Property Right Act mandates that the intellectual property from publicly financed research and development will be owned by the university. Also, the university IP policy then states that inventors must, that's a very important word, the operative word must. The inventor or inventors must get a share of the benefits of commercialization. The university helps you transfer your research outputs into commercial technologies that solves pressing societal needs and make you money. Owning IP is expensive. And I need to stress that. Owning IP is very much expensive, meaning you need to pay for your lawyers who will file your application on your behalf. You need to apply to every jurisdiction that you think you might have market in. So that process is very expensive, and commercialization takes time. So that's where we come in. So we do the admin so that smart and creative people like yourself get to invent, innovate, and make a difference. So our IP policy and IPR Act guides us on how these earnings are distributed. Remember that operative word in our policy that the earnings must be distributed with the inventors. So Innovus carries the cost of patenting and commercialization, as mentioned, and as you will share any income generated from commercialization with inventors according to the following distribution table. So this is the table in our Intellectual Property Rights Act that guides us on how the earnings will be distributed. So if the earnings are less than or equal to 1 million rands, 25% gross income will be allocated to the inventors equally or as stated in the disclosure form. Remember that disclosure form I was talking about, so it comes in here. All direct costs incurred for IP protection and commercialization may be recovered from the gross income. Then there's first tier net income. 50% of that goes to the university's internal innovation fund, 30% will go to the research account, and 10% will go to the department, another 10 will go to the faculty. Then what happens if the earnings are more than 1 million rands? Then all direct costs incurred for IP protection and commercialization may be recovered at this point. Second tier net income shall be allocated as follows. 35% goes to the inventors equally or as stated in the disclosure. 10% will go to the internal innovation fund and 10% to the research account, 10 to the department, and also 10 to the faculty. So the Stellenbosch University is a research-intensive university, and the proof is in our patent portfolio. So when we look at our patent portfolio, we look at indicators such as the Patent Cooperation Treaty, the PCT. So we look at PCT applications we have as a university. So those who are not familiar with PCT, PCT is what some people term as an international patent or patent application, sorry. So this international patent application, so the PCT affords you the right to apply to them, and then they examine your application. After examining your application and looking at things like novelty, inventive step, and utility, then if your application passes all those stages, then they offer you a very, very great opportunity to select countries that you want to apply the patent in. So if you're seeking protection in the US, you can tick in the PC application that I'm also seeking protection in the United States of America. So Stellenbosch University, as you can see, is leading in the PCT application. That means that our research that is conducted in the university is of international standard. Now, help us help you. How can you help us help you? We say to you, please patent before you publish. That does not mean we are against publishing. We are not against publishing. However, come to us. Let's have a conversation. If you think you might have an idea that a IP might emanate from, come to our offices. Let's talk about this. Let's see how we can help you patent before you publish. Now, contact Innovus when you think you're onto something, as mentioned. We are at 15 De Beers Street. We also offer you an opportunity to consult with a patent attorney. They visit our offices every Wednesday. So you can drop us an email stating that I need to consult with an attorney. I think I have something in the lab that I'm working on. We can make that happen. And our turnaround time for protection is around 3 weeks. Again, when you're working on something, please keep a lab notebook, especially when you're working in the lab. Keep a lab notebook with good records, decisions, and record your thinking. That would be very, very much important when we're working on a patent application for you. Speak to us. I'm going to mention this again. Please speak to us before you publish. If you think there's an applicable IP, come to our offices. Speak to us. Let us see how we can assist you. And use confidentiality agreements. Remember those NDAs I mentioned before? Please, before you share any sensitive information with anyone regarding your research, please come to us. Let us help you with these NDAs. Or when you are sharing material, you are transferring material, maybe between labs, please come to us and let's help you with the material transfer agreements. I've been saying come to us for a very long time now. This is us. These are the people that will assist you with this, with tech transfer and protecting your IP. So if you see us in the campus, around campus, please do stop us. We won't mind. These are very friendly faces. Talk to us and we will assist you. We will have coffee and we'll hear out your idea and we will find ways to assist you. Thank you very much. Do visit our social media pages and visit our website to find out more about Innovus and what we do. Thank you very much. That is my presentation. I will now maybe ask one question from my side, and then I will take questions from you guys. So my question is, I mentioned 2 commercialization strategies. Does anyone remember what are those 2 commercialization strategies that we employ? Any? Okay, I see a hand.
Candace Snyders.
Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
I think it was licensing or the spin out company.
100%. Thank you very much for answering that question. I'm glad that you were listening. Now I will take any questions from you guys before I hand over to Nolene, who will speak on. Okay. I can't really see hands. Can you assist me with hands? Identifying.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, thank you so much for this presentation. It was a nice one on discussing the intellectual property rights and patents. So I have a question. You've told us that we should make sure that we get an advice before publishing. Yeah? Now, for example, what happens if maybe I have published my work, and then, for example, me, I may be having, let's say, a microbe that can fix phosphorus solubilizing or nitrogen fixation using plants that I may, in quotes, I may say, call it a super microbe. Then I have published this work. So should I come now and apply for an IP, or what will happen in that case?
Thank you very much for your question. In that case, so in patent applications or in patents, we have what we call absolute novelty, meaning once you disclose something and it's there in the public domain, that might affect your novelty or your application. Therefore, in that case, I would say, come to us. Let's see what you have published, because you might have not published the special technical effect that is associated with your invention. So come to us, let's see what you have published and see how we can salvage the application.
Yeah.
So not all of it is lost once you published. We can still salvage some of the invention.
Thank you for that. I think that one will be nice. And then
maybe Nolene wants to add on.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just want to just explain, maybe just so everyone understands when you can patent. In order to file a patent, the invention has to be, or technology has to be novel or inventive. So that means nobody should have done it before. It shouldn't be something that is obvious to someone in your field. A bacterial strain, microorganisms are generally difficult to patent, but what is patentable might be the application of that strain. You know, it's used in a novel application to improve a process, make existing application better. So yes, in that case, it's very important. Publications are novelty destroying. So even if your publication gives a small bit of the IP away, it is very, very difficult for us to salvage it. So just make sure before you publish, just come have a quick consult with us. It is much easier to fix something before than fix something after.
Thank you very much, Nolene, for that.
Okay. In addition to that, thank you for that. In addition to that, I see some figures there on percentage sharing between the inventor at the university, and when you look at it in generally, it's, for example, if you have more than 1 million income, 1 million rand income, you see that the majority of the percentage goes to the university, while it was around the 40%. If you add all of them, it goes around 40% go to the university, because you're saying faculty, you're saying department, you're saying SU, Innovus. If you add all of them, it's like it's going to 40% to the university and 35% to the inventor. Now, I'm wondering, is this really good for the person that has invented something? Because you see the percentage is likely differences. So will it, or don't you fear that someone, an inventor, can go directly to apply elsewhere, maybe, for example, to the government attorney or industrial property institute of the government? Yeah.
Thank you very much for your question. Maybe Nolene is better suited to answer this one.
So this is unfortunately law, and the university's policy is actually a lot better than what the IP, the governmental policy states. So as an inventor, you will not be able to commercialize it without the university's intellectual property. The reason we also do this is to benefit society, but also to create income for the university as well, where this income that comes to the university goes to fund further student, further research, further development. Unfortunately, that part is not something that can be negotiated. If you go to a government institute or something, they will come back to the university because that IP falls under the university. Government has the right to use the IP, with the university's permission, but first the university has to go through the process of protecting it for commercialization.
Okay, I'm assuming now I'm outside the university, I'm outside there, maybe in the community, and I want to patent something. So should I now come through the university to apply for example, for a patent? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I am assuming now I'm independent, I'm not working closer to university, and I've innovated something outside there within the university. So should I now come and apply my patent or my IP through the university?
If I may take this one, Lee.
Yes.
Yeah. So Innovus, the Technology Transfer Office, we are here to support research that emanates from the university. So we support our researchers and students from the university, from the research that emanates from the university. So if that research emanates from outside the university, now remember I spoke about that the IP that is owned by the university is IP that has emanated from research that you do that is within the course and scope of your work. So if that IP or that research is from outside the university, Innovus does not assist in that part.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. So question number 2, can I please take it in that order? You can unmute and ask your question.
Good morning. I wanted to ask if, for example, you want to publish literature review papers, does it affect anything if you come up with something innovative that you'd like to publish later on, or it doesn't affect it? Is it okay if you still publish review papers?
Okay, I'm not sure if I'm getting your question there, but you're saying you want to publish a literature review, meaning work that has been done by others that is already publicly available.
Yes.
So you're reviewing that work, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then later on, maybe if you want to file for a patent, does it get affected by the work that you've published already, or those are two independent things?
So the patent that you say you want to apply for is the patent that emanates from your own research now, from your own results from your research?
Yes, but
Okay.
it's still the same topic as the literature review and everything, since I'm focusing on one research. But let's say now I have something else that I would like to file a patent for. Do those two link, or they're treated as separately?
Remember what Nolene said is that for you to be able to get a patent, your work must be novel, meaning it should not have been published before, right? You can publish a literature review. My understanding on the literature review is that you're reviewing work that is already publicly available. However, if you have results in the lab that speak to something novel, then it would be best for you to hold on to that and come to our offices so that we can assist you with applying for a patent before you publish anything that relates to those results.
Okay, so the publishing of patent, it's specifically for the lab work that you are doing, independent of the other parts of the research, like the literature studies and everything.
100% your own research and the results that emanate from that research. That is what the patent application will be centered around.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, question number 3.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, how everyone? Looking forward to today's program. I just quickly wanted to highlight publication doesn't necessarily always mean an article, right? Would that also include poster presentations at conferences, for example? So that's something to keep in mind, right? If whenever we talk about our research or the stuff that we're doing, it's not just published article.
100%. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that comment.
Right.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
anything. Even if you
It's-
share something that's on the internet, in a social media blog, on a LinkedIn post, that anything somebody else can see that's
Yeah.
not controlled is public disclosure.
Yeah.
Thank
Once
you,
it's
Gustav.
publicly available, then we stand a chance of destroying the novelty. So we're running a risk of novelty destroying. So now then thank you very much for your questions, and this was very interactive. I will then hand over to my colleague and Deputy Director, Ms. Nolene Singh. She will be speaking on how we promote and support entrepreneurship in the university. Over to you.
Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's doing okay. I'm just trying to load my presentation. Let me know if you can see it.
Yeah, can see it.
Center mode, Kulakani?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So I have many slides prepared, but I tend to go off slides. So please, if you have any, if I missed out any information that you might have read on the slides, just reach out to me and I'll go back to it. So working with our office, you know, everybody thinks it's quite a daunting task. It is not. People like Kulakani and myself, we are here to help you. And we are here to make the process easier. So as Kulakani said, when you have that one moment, I call it that eureka moment, when you think about, you know, I've done something. I've done something, or I have something that is something somebody can use. It's different. It's novel. No, you haven't read about it anywhere. Come to us. Come have a cup of coffee. Come have a chat. But that's just on the patenting side. Not every invention needs to be patented. So you might have an idea that maybe we can't patent, but it can add a lot of value commercially. It can become a company. You know, software, for example, is not something we can really patent because of the copyright laws. And sometimes with the software, we have to be quite creative. We also want to keep it as a trade secret. So we would then we look at other ways to help you with your technology. We'll help you with other ways to take your invention to market. So in saying that, as you know, being part of Stellenbosch University, we aim to be an entrepreneurial university. So what does that mean? An entrepreneurial university has the ability to innovate, recognize and create opportunities, take risk and respond to challenges. It sells its services in the knowledge industry and is a natural incubator that supports its academics, technicians, and students to create new ventures. So every one of you here today in this call is an innovator. The fact that you are doing your postgraduate study means that you have the ability to think outside the box, to be able to innovate, to be able to create new knowledge. So when you are working on your projects, always think about what can I do to improve? What can I do to make it better? And how can the university support you? In saying that, Innovus as an entrepreneurial university, our division, Innovation and Commercialization, has 4 structures within us that supports entrepreneurship. The first one is our Technology Transfer Office. So our office will then support you to anything that you develop within your scope and course of your work and study at this university. You come to us and we will help you to either protect the IP and commercialize the IP through licensing and spin-out companies. But that's not the only things we do. We also do a lot of industry engagement. So you can tell, maybe somebody is looking for a contact at Sasol. And you can come to me and say, Nolene, I'm working on this research project. I'm looking for a contact at Sasol. Do you perhaps have someone that you can introduce me to? And we are happy to always do that introduction for you. So we offer a lot of support, not just patenting. We also help you. Again, you have now engaged with Sasol, and now it's becoming a little bit tricky. They're asking you all these questions about IP, who's going to own the IP. Pull us in. We will help you. We will navigate that part of the conversation for you and let you take care of the research, which is the most important part. Then we have the University of Stellenbosch Enterprises. Kulakani mentioned the University of Stellenbosch Enterprises is a wholly owned subsidiary of Stellenbosch University. And that's where all our spin-out companies' shareholding resides. I'm going to go a little bit later into details about maybe I'll touch on it now. So in order for you to be a Stellenbosch University spin-out company, you have to have research that you've created within your study. And that research will then create a spin-out company. The university will create the company for you. They will also take shareholding in the company. We are never wanting to be the majority shareholder in a company because we do not want to control the company. But we will take shareholding. We will also offer you support, such as setting up the companies, assisting you with finding funding, assisting you with all the legal agreements that goes together with setting up a company. So that would what we would do as well. And the shareholding that the university gets will be held in the University of Stellenbosch Enterprises. Then we have the SU Launch Lab, and I hope everybody has been to the SU Launch Lab and engaged with them at some point in your studies. So when you become a spin-out company, you get incubated in the Launch Lab. And the Launch Lab have several programs to help you entrepreneurs. There's a countdown. So I have an idea. Is it a business? Liftoff, for example, I am now a business and I need support on how to put a data room together. I need to help do financial modeling. The Launch Lab will support you through all of that. They will help you through your investment agreements. Brandon Pichel that runs the Launch Lab, he is extremely knowledgeable and has been in this industry for years and is able to tailor make the support individually for every company because not every company has the same needs. So a spin-out in the biotech field needs much more support in terms of development support than maybe a spin-out in the software field where the software is quick to market. And then we have Suncom. So Suncom is the division that is, the division that is responsible for all the fifth stream income of the university. So the student reses, the botanical garden, the NLC, the catering services at the reses all fall under Suncom. But what's wonderful about Suncom is whereas my office and Launch Lab is specifically there to support innovation that comes from university research. Suncom can also support innovations that are not university research. So for example, you as a student, you come up with an app that's going to solve the parking problem in Stellenbosch. And you can go to Suncom and they might be able to support you in commercializing that. And please, I hope somebody is developing an app to support the parking problems in Stellenbosch. So that is Suncom. And then we have several tools that you can also engage with. So the one is on our website, you will get a spin-out company guide. If you are interested in starting a spin-out company, go into our website, www.innovus.co.za, and download the spin-out company guide. It will tell you everything you need to start a company with the university. Then we also have a platform called the Instant Startup. So this is an online platform for our entrepreneurs. And basically, it takes you through the entire process of starting the business. It has modules and little videos that takes an entrepreneur through the entire entrepreneurial journey. We also have, as Kulakani earlier mentioned, we have the Stellenbosch network. So this is a member network. Anyone that is employed or a student of Stellenbosch University has free membership to Stellenbosch network. So please do join. And they are member network. So the network has university personnel, we have startups, we have companies within the Western Cape region. We also have government that's part of our network. And we have the municipalities that support us. So, and this network, what it does, it has events and it has competitions that brings all of these people together so that they can collaborate and communicate, and just creating opportunities within the Stellenbosch region. And then we also have some entrepreneurial initiatives such as the boot camps, which is run by the Launch Lab. And we have the SU Hackathon that's also run by the Launch Lab. And then, you might think you're going to now give Innovus, you're going to come to Innovus, we're going to patent your technology, but what then? How do we get it to market? So we have several initiatives, and one of it is InPart. The InPart is an online marketing platform, and it is a worldwide platform, and there's Kulakani, you'll have to help me if you remember, but yesterday we had a meeting and they have hundreds of industry partners working with them. And basically we would then take your technology and market it on the InPart website. We don't only market it on InPart, we market it on our social media platforms, we market it on our website, and we, as a tech transfer office, will actually go to industry with your technology to market it to see if they would be interested in taking it forward. Now, InPart, as you can see, as I mentioned, it's international. It has a huge follower base, and they have a huge subscription base. And we've had very, very good success in getting our technologies out internationally through InPart. InPart also has campaigns for researchers like yourself. And if you look at the link below, I think the postgraduate office will share all our presentations with you. And if you follow the link, you will see some of the campaigns they have. And if your research does apply to any one of them, please do apply, because they do introduce you to industry, and then industry with you develop your technology to a level where that industry can take it to commercialization. We have also now started this really interesting concept called the research tool. So we saw from international universities, they have been making a lot of funds from research tools. So what are the hacks that make your lab life easier? Do you have simple things in your process that makes your process faster or cheaper? Would other labs benefit from it? And maybe something like a bacterial strain. I know somebody mentioned a bacterial strain. Maybe your bacterial strain is something that is doing something novel and is going to make a process easier. Those are things that we can license out as a research tool. And this research tool is very, very simple to license, and it's not a difficult process. We have a one-page document. If you have something like this that you'll have to fill out, and then we will take it on and contact all the institutes to see if they'll be interested in licensing this as a research tool. It also gives you as a researcher opportunity to collaborate with these other institutes as well. So here I'm going to talk about some of the funding opportunities. And yesterday when I read through some of the expectations, people spoke about what are the funding opportunities that's available. So when you take your research from from an idea to proof of concept, that's what I call technology readiness level 3. that's when our office as Innovus can start working with you. So when you have fundamental research, it's still an idea that still falls under the research office domain. But the minute it becomes something that you have a proof of concept, you have a prototype, you have something tangible that says that your innovation worked. And we spoke about a game just now. We've currently licensed our VR modules to an international company. It's basically research modules that was made into VR that's now being commercialized to an international VR company. So when you have those sorts of things, then you can come to us and we can help you, but we have funding to support it. So one of the funding that we have is the Technology Innovation Seed Funding. And since 2014, we supported 59 projects through it. And it was over 25 million rands that we have for our research projects. We've had 59 partnerships. We received second round funding for 10 projects to over 21 million rands. We've registered 30 patents through the seed funding. Projects that were commercialized through licenses that was from the seed funding, we had 15. And there were 17 new companies started from this tier seed funding that the projects got. The second funding is a very exciting funding. A few years ago, in the midst of COVID 2019, the university started the University Technology Fund. And what this is and why it's so unique, this is like a venture fund, but it's unique just only for universities. So only if you're a university project or you're a university startup, you have access to this University Technology Fund. The initial fund was just University of Cape Town and Stellenbosch University, but now we started the second fund and more universities in South Africa has joined us. This particular UTF pre-seed fund is funding that's still given to us and for projects in the university. So you don't have to be a spin-out company. You're a project in the university. We need to do that development to bridge that gap to something that you can take into a spin-out company. We get this UTF funding and the TR seed funding for. So as I said, it was just a concept to see if it worked. So since 2020, there was 12 projects funded, just over 4.3 million. And there were 5 of this project that went into the UTF-5 pipeline for further investment. That is the 5 of the projects wanted to become companies. One project raised another 500,000 rand of pre-seed money to continue with development within the university. The number of patents registered for the UTF funds were 7. The number of projects commercialized through a license that didn't become a company was 3. And we've registered 5 new companies from the UTF pre-seed funds. So other opportunities we have for funding, we have the SU Investment Committee, and they invest through the University of Stellenbosch Enterprises in SU spin-out companies. We have seed and pre-seed funds that's available on a case-by-case basis to university project that is disclosed to our office. So if you come and you disclose your project to our office, Kulakani mentioned it has to go through a due diligence process. If it goes through that due diligence process and you present it to us, we might invite you to apply for some of the seed or pre-seed funds available at the university. And then the UTF Series Seed Fund, Series Seed, Series A are available to our spin-out companies specifically. This is another thing that I wanted to talk to you about, and this specifically relates to postgraduate students. So we've also started what we call the Translational Fellowship. And this enables recent graduates to pursue an entrepreneurial career upon graduation and to translate your research into innovations to create impact. So what I found in my years here was often now we get a master's or PhD student working on a project, but at the end of their studies, they get a wonderful job and they leave. And then we have this great patent that they've developed that doesn't go anywhere because we've lost the champion. And you are the champion of your projects. Nobody can deny that. And in order to keep this champion at the university, we managed to find a small little stipend, and that is to support the entrepreneur for a period of 1 year. And in that 1 year, you will go through incubation programs at the Launch Lab to help you develop your entrepreneurial skills. And you will then also be supported through other types of funding like the UTF Pre-Seed or TSC fund to take your project further in development, to bring it to a commercialization stage where we can either license it to an existing company or start a spin-out company from it. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of stats on this. So in 2021, we had 2 fellows, and the funding was 650,000. And the market research and engagement from one of the fellows led to material transfer agreements and potential commercialization partners. Unfortunately, one of the fellows, she found a job and she left in the middle of the fellowship, but yeah, that was unfortunate. In 2022, we also had 2 fellows. The business development skills and mentorship led to one of the fellows starting a spin-out company at the end of 2022. This fellow also secured UTF seed investment for the company, and he secured commercial contracts with several industry partners in the mining industry. Currently, his company is performing really well, and we are actually looking at starting up a branch in the US. The market engagement and the commercial resources provided the second fellow with securing tier seed funds and enabling him to develop a low-resolution prototype that could be demonstrated to small-scale farmers for his technology. He was then further funded by the DBC to continue with his fellowship for the following year to further develop his technology, because his technology wasn't market ready at that stage. In 2023, we also had 2 fellows. The business development skills and market led to one of the fellows starting a spin-out company at the end of 2023. This fellow also secured investment, and he's currently working with companies such as Sasol, Heineken, Mondi, and Bachmann. The resource and marketing opportunities and industry engagement led to the second fellow successfully securing tier seed funding for validating the protocol for a personalized medicine platform. She has received additional funding. So in 2024, she was also a translational fellowship with us to continue developing the personalized medicine platform. In 2024, one of the first fellow spun out the company at the end of 2023 and was that's a mistake. So it was the end of 2024 and successfully raised seed funding. They have developed a field-ready prototype that is currently being tested in industry. The first commercial sale is now predicted in the first quarter of 2025, and I think they've already achieved their first commercial sale. The second fellow, she won the Biocentrifuge Africa competition and was sent to the US for the regional. And she has engaged with several industry in the oncology field to help develop her personalized medicine platform. So these are how all of these fellows had research projects that they were working either in their master's or PhD level that were given a fellowship in order to enable them to commercialize their projects. So I'm running out of time, so I'm going to go very quickly now. So this is our group of companies. We currently have 34 group of Innovus companies, and most of them at a very, very early stage. And they range from things like the Marty's Gym, for example, is one of our spin-out companies, to software company like AI coaching that uses AI bot for gold attainment coaching. There's the Launch Lab is the Launch Lab is no longer a spin-out company. That's a part of our move back into the university. We have a company called Banzi Feed that basically has taken research from the social science department and on South African children's feet, and I've developed a specialized certification mark and is now commercializing it through other companies. So just to give you some example of our spin-out companies, we have PagoFlux. So here, professors from the university together with their students, and there's professors from engineering, professors from science, and they've now, with their students that they've worked in, started this company, PhagoFlux, that basically develops devices for measuring autophagy, which is the cell aging process. There's 3 devices. There's a device for the wellness industry, there's a device for the research industry, and there's a diagnostic device. Their first, the research-related device is going to be officially launched within the next 2 months. Yeah, CubeSpace also started from the Department of Electrical and Electronic Engineering. They produce satellite components that orbits all over space. I mean, NASA is one of the biggest clients. They have employed over 50 people, and they've just recently raised 47 million of venture capital to broaden their scope, and they're also moving internationally. We have Stellenbosch Nanofiber, also started from students from the Department of Biochemistry, and their company produced nanofibers for wound dressing, for eye scaffolding. If anyone knows Skuan, the waterless face mask, the polymers are produced by SNC. They've also produced polymers for waterless face masks for international beauty companies. They produce face mask, as in the ones that we use during COVID as well. So really wonderful stuff that we are actually using in our everyday life is coming out of this company. Biocode was also started by 2 PhD students, one from engineering, one PhD student from engineering and one master's student from science. And they basically do point-of-care devices for measuring inflammation. And they've also developed a long COVID microclot test. So yeah, so be part of our SU mission in being an entrepreneurial university. We are committed at our office to fostering a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship. Get involved with us, whether it's through our office, whether it's through the Launch Lab, whether it's through Stellenbosch Network. Get involved. It will also help you develop skills that you need to move yourself further in your career. And sure, just reach out to create real-world impact from your research. And how can we work with you to make sure your research makes the impact you envision when you began your journey? So think about that. That's the question I want to leave you with. And when you get that answer, contact any one of us at the office to see how we can work with you. And for those of you that would like to reach out to me, there's my contact details. Please do reach out. Happy to have a coffee with you and just to discuss any ideas or some advice that you might need. And thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do we have time for any questions?
Yeah, we can take maybe 1 or 2 questions. Thank you very much, Nolene, for the insightful presentation highlighting how Innovus supports and promotes entrepreneurship in the university. Maybe I will pose 1 question from Nolene's presentation before I allow questions from the floor. Nolene mentioned that we have our group of companies. How many group of companies do we have at Stellenbosch University? Yes, I see a hand. You can unmute and answer.
34 companies.
Great stuff. Thank you very much for the answer. I will then allow maybe 2 quick questions before we move on to the next presentation on the floor.
I think I've stunned everyone to silence.
You can raise your hand. Okay, there is 1 question. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you so much, Kulekane and Nolene, for such a wonderful presentation. And Nolene, thank you so much for sharing the impact of the work that we do. And obviously the proof is in the pudding. My question to you, Nolene, is can you explain what is the role of the supervisor in commercialization of research? How do they get involved and so forth? Thank you.
So for me and for the university, your supervisor is a very intricate part of your research because you are not doing this journey alone, independently. It is with your supervisor as well. And maybe Giselle will just touch a little, but Giselle, I'm putting you on the spot of her role with her supervisor in the project. But when you are coming to us, please engage with your supervisor. Have your supervisor, talk to your supervisor, have that discussion of, I have this, I want to go to Innovus, I think I want to start a company, I think I have something novel and innovative. We do need your supervisor's support. If you're starting a spin-out company, typically a supervisor does not move into the spin-out company with you. You will be the entrepreneur running the company, but your supervisor will still be part of the company in terms of shareholding. They still will be allowed to have the opportunity to have shareholding in the company if they choose. Some supervisors choose not to have shareholding in the company, and that's why we will have a license agreement between the university and the company for the IP so that the supervisor can then be remunerated. But yes, your supervisor is a very integral part, and include them in your journey. They might not want to be there, and that is totally fine. But as long as they are knowledgeable that you are going to do this with us, because we are going to go to the supervisor and ask permission to continue working on this project with you. We will also work with the departmental head and the dean to get approval for when you fill out an invention disclosure, just to also make sure that all the management that is involved in the decision making within your faculty is aware that Innovus is working with you to do this, to take your invention to the next level.
Thank you very much, Nolene. Okay, let's see, there's a follow-up question. Is there a follow-up question or was that a legacy hand? All right, I think it was a legacy hand. All right, thank you very much. If you have any further questions about Nolene's presentation, you can pop in, you can ask that question in the chat. So we will move on to our next presenter, Dr. Kyler, who is a qualified polymer scientist and the CEO of NanoSyn, one of our group of companies. She will share with you her inspiring journey from academia to entrepreneurship. You can go ahead, Doctor.
Good morning, everyone. I'm hoping you're seeing the right screen here. If not, just give me a shout. Everything looks good. I see my molecules are moving, so that's a good sign. Yeah. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you all today. Thank you for the invitation. It's always great being involved in initiatives like this and really seeing the progress that we're making as a university to really drive research for impact, something that I am personally very passionate about. And with that, I'd like to tell you more about our venture called NanoSyn, where we are a spin-out company here from the Department of Chemistry and Polymer Science, particularly with a focus on the design and synthesis of innovative polymers to enable researchers and drug developers to more accurately identify potential targets related to human disease. Yes, that is a mouthful. So we are in the biotech, and some would refer it as the deep tech space. So hang in there. I'm going to tell you more about NanoSyn and what we do, and then delve in a little bit into my personal journey and how we got here. Alrighty, so obesity, depression, cancer, these conditions still require a lot of research and understanding. Now, researchers and drug developers need to find a way to access the affected cells in the human body. And this is very, very difficult. Finding this right key to access these cells is the most important part in effective drug design. The problem, however, in 2022, 90% of clinical drug development failed due to oversight in the drug target validation and the optimization thereof. Now, drug discovery is a very long, very costly and high-risk process that can span anything between 10, 15 years with an average cost of about $1 to $2 billion for the approval of a single new therapeutic for clinical use. Now, these high failure rates may be due to the misrepresentation of the target that is related to that disease. So if we have a look at the little blue structure over here, and I'm very aware that our audience is quite broad and diverse, but if you look at the yellow squiggly bit, we sometimes say this is a dynamite stick representation, but this is a very special protein. It's called a membrane protein, and I'll show you in a little bit where this fits in within the cellular structure. But just to show you, we traditionally, things called detergents were developed in the 1960s, and they are able to basically wrap around your protein. But this is a synthetic molecule trying to mimic a natural environment, which isn't always that successful. So Nanocene has revolutionized the way that we extract and study these very, very important membrane proteins through the use of polymer nanodiscs. So for those of you who may not know, if we look at the blue and red bracelet structure, this is a polymer. A polymer is a very long chain molecule, and in this case is able to wrap around our protein and create a functional representative structure for further downstream processing and studying. So here we have a snapshot of the cell, and this structure is the cellular membrane. This basically is the outside barrier to all the cells in our bodies, plant bodies, and all organisms. Now, in this case, the yellow, green, purple bits, they are membrane protein targets. Here comes the polymer. It spontaneously interacts with this membrane, chopping it up, acting as a molecular cookie cutter to create these very, very tiny nanoscale discs, now making these proteins accessible in a way, in a biologically active and functional state. This is something that was an impossible task for many targets only a decade ago. So just to reiterate, these are essentially the access control units to every cell in our body. So as soon as you take a therapeutic, many therapeutics, they need to interact with these proteins in a particular way to have an effect. So let's have a look and see how this technology has been implemented. So we weren't the first people in the world to figure out that polymers can do this. We have, however, taken the first polymer that the discovery was made on, which is actually a commercial polymer that's made on tonnage scale and actually designed for a completely different purpose. It's in your iPhone, it's in your car dashboard, so it's not optimized for this particular research. So we have developed a new and improved formulation for this kind of research. Now here we see during the COVID pandemic that researchers actually utilized this cookie cutter technology to isolate the COVID SARS spike protein, which you can see basically as this little blue bit over here, chopping that up in a nanodisc, making it accessible for drug discovery efforts during the pandemic time. Another biotech company actually jumped at this opportunity, employing it and isolating these spike proteins in these nanodiscs, which made it accessible for researchers all over working on a therapeutic development. Now, look at this. This is 25 micrograms. That is pretty much a grain of salt, 2 grains of salt if you're lucky, but it's selling at more than $1,300 for that tiny, tiny quantity. This just reiterates the great potential for what we have to offer. So in 2023, pharma spent a whopping $262 billion on drug development R&D. Now, Nanocene has identified and already in discussion with key global players, both in the academic and industrial sectors, with a particular focus on Europe and the UK, as well as Northern America. Share that. Okay. So let me tell you a little bit about the actual invention or the actual technology. So our formulation, as you can see here, is called the BZAM terpolymer series. These polymers this formulation was developed and optimized throughout my PhD research and is now forming the core technology and the first product of NanoScene. This polymer, basically, we've created a series or a kit that allows researchers to evaluate different properties on the polymer and see what works more effectively on their particular drug targets. So we're very proud to announce that we have a licensing partnership with a leading biotech company based in Germany, who is now selling our first polymer products available online for purchase. So having a look at our competitive landscape, because that is a very important part about designing your startup company and really seeing how you fit in, whether it's national or international picture. We have 4 key competitors. This includes Cube Biotech, who we have a strategic partnership with, as well as a leading company based in the USA known as Anatrace. Now, our strategy involves partnering with these leading producers and offering contract research. We have already secured this non-exclusive partnership with Cube, and discussions are underway to secure a similar agreement with Anatrace. This allows us to position ourselves on the global scale and allows us to focus on what we do best: continuous R&D, leveraging our partners' manufacturing and distribution networks for expanding our brand and market reach. So on our road to success, some noteworthy mentions include the PCT patent filing of our core technology developed through our PhD research here at Stellenbosch University, an exciting partnership with Cube Biotech, which led to the international product launch of our first polymer products at a conference in the United States at the end of 2023. Last year, the team kicked things into the next gear with multiple travel opportunities to pitch to diverse audience and entrepreneurs, researchers, investors, both in, or not just both, but in Paris, Switzerland, and in Dubai, with keeping up the speed. Now, I'm going to focus a little bit more about my personal journey and what motivated the developments that we are talking about. So I finished my high school at Outeniqua High School, which is in George in the Garden Route area. Now, during school, I did pretty well, got good marks, was a prefect, played a bunch of sports, got quite a few recommendations from family and friends as to what to do with my life. However, the world is my oyster, but please help me decide in which direction I should go. So based on that overwhelming feeling, I decided to take a gap year, which essentially turned into 2 gap years, traveling internationally and working for the world's rich and famous, working very hard, but also saving up some money. So in 2014, when I came to Stellenbosch, I started my BSc or academic journey. So I was wondering, what will I enjoy doing for the next 3 years, which at that stage felt like an eternity, having to spend 3 years focusing on one thing. Little did I know was it just the start. But I actually started off with earth science, which I quickly realized was very rocky, pun intended. So luckily I had the right subject, so I was able to swap over to chemistry and polymer science. My mom loves reminding me that after my final chemistry exam in 3rd year, I told her that I never want to step a foot in the lab again. Little did I know, I had the opportunity to do my honors degree in polymer science, which I took up because there was actually just a small cohort that was allowed to continue with honors. So I thought, okay, this is a sign, I have to do my honors degree, but it's the last one. During my honors degree, I was seeking opportunities, looking for ways to be involved in many different projects to expand my skill sets and ready myself for a career outside of academia. However, the next year, an opportunity arose to do a master's degree in polymer science. So I said, okay, this is the last one. I'll start my master's. During my master's, I'm going to identify and grab opportunities that come my way. So during that time, I was working on a very fun project or interesting project, which aligns with Stellenbosch Nanofiber Company, actually. Two friends and I, we started a successful tutoring business. I was working at the Central Analytical Facility after hours using the scanning electron microscope, actually doing the nanofiber imaging for commercial clients. This is a snapshot of the research that I was doing for my master's. I was designing thermoresponsive hydrogels, which also then turned into nanofibers, which was quite exciting. And I had the wonderful opportunity to get involved in the world of technology transfer through an Innovus Technology Transfer Fellowship towards the end of my master's degree. This involved the scaling and evaluating technologies that was developed in the lab and seeking commercial opportunity and seeing how feasible this technology actually is for making on a larger scale. That was a very fantastic insight in what would await. Now, at the end of my master's, I have a few decisions to make, right? A girl's got to eat. I'm very intrigued in all the research that we're doing. However, I need to be thinking about my financial future. So in 2020, the opportunity arose to do a PhD. This was just too a good opportunity to let go because I was offered a dual award opportunity between Stellenbosch and Coventry University in the UK. The catch, my Stellenbosch component will be based on polymer science, something I've been doing for the past how many ever years. Yet the other side is in molecular pharmacology. At this stage, I have zero biology background other than my high school biology. Now I'm getting offered a PhD position in a different country at a different university in molecular pharmacology. That was an extremely daunting decision to make, as I at that point felt I knew nothing and I'm not equipped to take on this kind of project. However, I decided that I will make an effort to ensure that I will use this opportunity to learn as much as I possibly can. Now, not forgetting about the fact that I actually want to build on my financial future, I started thinking about incorporating some entrepreneurial aspect throughout my PhD research. And this is where the idea of a spin-out company was born. So during 2020, unfortunately, I started my PhD journey started at the start of a global pandemic, which is unfortunate because that meant ever-changing timelines, uncertain travel plans, specifically because I have an agreement between two universities. However, I was involved in multiple side projects, right? So I was exploring different options. And this also gave me the time to really think about the potential of starting a company. So in 2021, I was able to get into the lab, start making some polymers. These polymers were really interesting. We filed for a patent. And then at the end of February 2021, we had a big incident in the lab, which led to our lab being closed for another couple of months. This, of course, is a disaster, considering you need to do research to get your PhD. But what do I do when one door closes? That may be a new opportunity. So I joined in on the Launch Lab Countdown program, which was an extremely valuable experience for me. This opened my eyes towards what a startup actually means. So things like customer discovery really cemented the foundation for NanoScene. So at the end of December 2021, our company was registered. Now, in 2022, I am a full-time PhD student. I'm a CEO of a startup company. There's multiple legal negotiations going on, stacks of paperwork. I'm spending 6 months of the year in the UK. I actually in April was employed by a technology development grant in our research group. So I'm an official employee of Stellenbosch University. So I'm pretty sure you've seen this picture before. And I think this is exactly what the last few years was about. Everything was on fire, but a positive mindset can really push you through quite a few challenges or hurdles or opportunities, however you want to see it. So in 2023, I am employed on the grant. I am now our group's research manager. I'm still involved with multiple legal negotiations. Luckily, our core team member joined the team, and she has just contributed such a massive amount to the growth and development of the company. We've finalized a successful licensing agreement. This led to production optimization. And like I said, in October, we actually celebrated the product launch in the United States with the privilege of having the whole team there. And on top of that, on the 1st of December, I handed in my PhD thesis, which was a very big personal milestone. Then comes 2024. This was the most insane, yet exciting, yet crazy year of my whole life. In January, we had the opportunity to visit collaborators in the UK. In February, I attended the first pitch in Nigeria. February, I defended my PhD. March, I graduated my Stellenbosch PhD. In May, we won another opportunity to pitch in France. In May and June, we won an opportunity to go pitch and learn in Switzerland. In July, I was in the UK graduating my PhD. Mid-year, we received our first royalty payments on the licensing agreement. In November, I was awarded the postgraduate student of the year by the South African Chemical Institute. 2 weeks later, we flew to Dubai. We were one of only 100 global innovations to attend Prototypes of Humanity and had the opportunity to select 8 companies to pitch to Her Highness during this event, which was a personal milestone. And at the end of November, we actually won the University Spin-off of the Year competition through the Cape Higher Education collaborative group, which is really, really amazing. Through all of this, I was able to graduate my PhD at 2 universities in 2 subjects, one of which I had 0 prior knowledge, yet equipped myself to really achieve my goals. In 2025, I am still our group's research manager, involved in multiple research projects, which is really exciting because it creates the pipeline for technology within our company. Nanoscene is the official commercialization platform for innovative polymers and innovations that come from our research group. We focus on growing and motivating the team, whether that means permanent employees or internships and people wanting to get involved. We are focusing on expanding our product portfolio or product pipeline, and very much focusing currently on a scaling project to make sure we can make these polymers on a bigger scale and establish new networks and partnerships. So this was just a highlight of some of the things that happened, where in Nigeria, this was, like I said, the first time that Nanoscene was pitched on the international stage. And it was personally the first time that I pitched. And from 20 African startups, we actually won the whole event, which was mind-blowing. We also were voted as the public favorite at that event, which is quite incredible. This opened an opportunity to go to Switzerland and pitch there to multiple audiences. Later, we were at VivaTech, which is Europe's largest tech and innovation event in Europe, where we also pitched on the Africa Tech stage in front of quite a big audience. And yeah, this was us at in Dubai, where we actually had an exhibition, which was really exciting. We had this 3D model made to explain our technology. So it's been an incredible journey, and it's been really crazy. So I can't wait to see what the future holds for NanoScene and the team. But with that, I'd like to share with you guys some things that I'm learning along the way. And I hope you could find some, you can maybe relate to some of this. So the first one is, you are your biggest critic. We always push to be our best, but it's very important to use that motivation and drive to better yourself and not break yourself. So another big thing is, acknowledge that you don't know what you don't know, but it's extremely important to be willing to learn, to be willing to listen to others and ask the questions to help you improve on your personal and professional development. Another key focus is to focus on continuous improvement, being a little bit better and learning a little bit more every single day. Embrace the journey, but be adaptable. Be adaptable because things don't always pan out the way that we want or that we imagine, but you never know what door might be opening around the corner. And celebrate the small things. Celebrate all the things that make you happy, whether that is a successful experiment in the lab or a big thing, but celebrate those moments because they come and go so quickly. And then ask about the opportunity, ask about the possibility. Can I be involved in this? Can I do that? You would be amazed how many opportunities await if you ask whether you could be involved. And then my mom always says, vriendelijkheid kos niks. A positive mindset enables you to conquer so much. And of course, being friendly to the people around you is such a powerful tool to help you on your journey and building your network. And then along with that, give credit where due, uplift your team for good work and acknowledge those who contributed to your development and your journey. And then remember, we don't have to do it all alone. It is and may be a daunting and isolating journey at some time, but you don't have to do it alone. And with that, I'd love to introduce to you our team of extremely qualified and highly motivated individuals with expertise in polymer technology, innovation, commercialization, driving NanoScene to new heights. So here I will mention Professor Bert Klimperman. He is the co-founder and CTO of NanoScene. So he was my professor or my supervisor throughout my PhD, and now also the research leader in the group that we are working in. And this is my colleague and friend, Elaine Barnard. She is our Chief Operating Officer, and she has played an instrumental role in the development and growth in NanoScene. And I can't thank her enough for all her contributions and also making the journey so fun. And then, of course, our support team from Innovus as well as Launch Lab, with a special mention to Nolene for all her guidance and support. So the big picture, what are we trying to achieve at NanoScene with our technology? We want to make the identification and study of these very important targets better. That means we can design more effective therapeutics with less side effects, reduce the timeline that it takes to develop these drugs, which will essentially make it more affordable and more accessible to the global community. And that is our mission. So if you would like to read more about what we're doing, you can go and have a look at this Research for Impact paper, which is a really wonderful paper published by the university explaining the journey, the research with some really nice imagery. This is the link to the actual academic publication describing the BZAM polymers, their synthesis, their design. And then here's another interesting article, a little bit about my development and my journey, if you're interested in reading more. And then, would you like to get involved? Here are some of our current interns. We are so happy to have welcomed Frederick on board about 2 weeks ago. He's from Norway. He is focusing on the revamp and redesign of our website and other marketing efforts. So that's super exciting. And then we will be welcoming Martin from the Netherlands next month, actually. He will be doing some research in the lab. And then we're also almost saying goodbye to Kelly and Ronewa from the UK and Germany, who's been working in the lab utilizing the BZAM polymers, which is very exciting. Now we are looking for some local talent. So if you're interested in things like marketing, content creation, 3D printing and design, market research, customer discovery, please reach out to me and we'll see how things go, because we love to get other people's insight and really build the foundation that we are hoping to expand the impact for, or the impact that we can create through research. And with that, I'd love to invite you all to join along on our startup journey, follow us on LinkedIn, and have a look at what we are busy with. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kyla, for that inspiring presentation. I believe you have one question that you would like to pose to our attendees.
Yes, so I would love to hear from you guys. After listening to this talk, what is your take-home message from my talk? I'd love to hear a few different versions of that, because everyone interprets things very differently. So what would be your take-home message from my talk today?
Sure. My take-home message is that opportunities are actually everywhere. And, I used to think that maybe, I had to be like really special or like really smart to do something great. But I think opportunities are everywhere and I should open myself up, just have conversations with the people around me. And, one thing can lead to another, which leads to greatness. And I also learned that it's very important to be able to juggle so many different aspects of your life. And I would actually like to ask you how you managed to juggle so many things at once. Additionally, I think this is a dumb question, but I was just wondering, do you have 2 PhDs or is it 1 PhD? I was not quite sure about that.
Thank you so much for your awesome answer, because that is exactly it, right? There's nothing special really about me. I come from a small background, a very, humble background. It's not like my parents were these really big famous people. So it literally just goes to show that if you are willing to take on extra responsibilities and you are willing to learn and put yourself in a situation that you didn't think you would be in and most likely not comfortable in, you never know what the possibilities may be. So that's really awesome. Then in terms of juggling the workload or managing all of that, I will say it's definitely a skill that you learn with time. And I'm sure our Innovus colleagues can definitely attest to that. The more we do, the better we get into managing that. But my key thing is staying organized and time management. It's extremely, extremely important to make sure that you can dedicate time to your different responsibilities, but uninterrupted time. So you'll always see my calendar has blocks in. If I have a dedicated research paper that I need to write, I will be writing that for today. We can have meetings tomorrow, the day after, but now I'm doing this. Tomorrow I'll be doing this. Some days are crazy. I literally run up from the lab, throw my lab coat, I run over to the launch lab, go give a pitch, come back, have 3 meetings with students. Sometimes it's absolutely crazy, but it just goes to show that you really develop these skills to manage all of that. And then the last thing, a dual award PhD. So technically I have 2 PhD certificates from 2 different universities, although combined it is a PhD qualification it's quite a complicated definition. But yes, thank you so much for answering. Anyone else would like to unmute themselves? It's much nicer to have a conversation with a real voice.
Yeah.
Or even put on your camera.
Yes.
Can I go?
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think thank you. Very inspiring presentation, journey as well. My key takeaway is very simple: is resilience, positivity, and put in the hard work. And yeah, thank you. Thanks once again.
Thank you so much.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So my key takeaway as a career guidance coach from high school to tertiary, focusing on education and entrepreneurship, you have just, and part of the launch lab again. So you have confirmed my work because I had something. The reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is because I had this disturbing quote or people saying when people said you don't need education to become an entrepreneur. So my journey and my initiative is basically about balancing education and entrepreneurship. So I am happy and I'm going to follow you on social media to hear more. I'm all about education and entrepreneurship because in South Africa we are struggling now with the high employment rate and unemployed graduates, of which it does not make sense if you have studied 4 years, 5 years, 7 years, and still unemployed. So you have just confirmed my work to keep going. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I completely agree with what you're saying. Of course, entrepreneurship has a very broad definition, right? So entrepreneurship doesn't necessarily just relate to the commercializing of a very technical component. It could also mean running a candy shop or making something and selling that. That is all entrepreneurship. So I think it's important to strike that balance. I think the work that you're doing is really, really impactful, but I don't think we should demotivate anyone who doesn't feel like, oh no, I don't have a patent. I don't have this brilliant, crazy invention. Anyone can be an entrepreneur. And I think education can definitely help you in your pathway and really understanding how to run a sustainable business. So yeah, looking forward to following your journey as well.
Great.
Anyone
Thank
else
you
want to
very much,
unmute? Oh yeah.
Yeah, I see a hand from Tyler. Maybe this would be our last hand before we go to questions.
Hi there, how are you?
Great, thank you. How are you?
I just wanted to say thank you so very much for such a wonderfully inspiring talk. I think it kind of resonates with me specifically because I come from a very impoverished background and I spent my whole life working very, very hard in academics to kind of get out of that environment. And even though like I've got a disability, right? So I took 10 years out from my last degree in and out of hospital. And yeah, and honestly, so I maxed my credit cards and everything to come and do my master's here in neuroscience because I absolutely think that you know, this is the way forward, this is the way through, and this is the way out. And I think that it's really helpful and interesting to get these kinds of ideas because I think that it's not only possible to enrich my life, but I can also enrich the lives of others together. So it's really nice to know that there are these ventures and opportunities available. So I'm really excited, and yeah, I look forward to seeing your journey and I hope to share mine one day too.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. I actually had goosebumps while you were talking. Just goes to show, right? We stick in there, like hang in there. We don't
Yeah, we're
know
all
what
doing
the
this
future
together.
holds.
Yeah,
Exactly. That's really awesome. Everyone has their own journey and their own struggles in whichever shape or form they are. So that's really awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Awesome. Thank you very much for the great questions. And I think I should tell you this, that there is a colleague of mine on the platform that is taking names of those who answered questions. And one of you will stand a chance of winning themselves a great Martins voucher. All right. Any questions?
I see. Oh, there's more take-home messages. Sorry, I haven't been
Yeah, there's more
monitoring the
take-home
chat the whole
messages.
time.
All right. If there's no more questions on Dr. Carl's presentation, then we will ahead. Thank you very much. Again, I would love to thank the Postgraduate Skills Office for organizing such a great knowledge sharing session. And a special thank you to the attendees for taking your time and affording us an opportunity to talk about what we do and how we can support you to actually take your research to market. So if you have further questions about our presentations, or you just want to come in and talk to us, feel free. We are at 15 De Beer Street. Come visit our office. We will definitely buy you coffee. It's on us. Yes. So, yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
I'll be swinging by for a coffee.
You're more than welcome. So I will be heading back to the postgraduate office if there's no more further questions. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
I see someone has a hand up. Is that, we still
Oh.
have a few minutes?
Sorry for that. So maybe just one last comment is, maybe you next time you can now bring us so that we know the basics of IP, intellectual property. For example, the types of intellectual properties we don't know, like trademarks, all these other things. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. That will be organized. Right.
All righty. Thanks so much,
Thanks.
everyone.
Cheers,
Thanks.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.